The television side of the MCU has been around for more than 11 years now, with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kicking it off all the way back in 2013. Since then, we've had some of the best shows of all time, and, well, let's just say some shows people aren't itching to rewatch. With the prevalent theory that Avengers Secret Wars will soft reboot the MCU, I want to take a look at the Marvel television side to see who is most likely to get recast post Secret Wars. There are 38 characters we'll be ranking today in these 4 categories. Almost 0% chance they get recast, unlikely to get recast, could go either way, and I'd be surprised if they weren't recast. When ranking these characters, I only had the first 10 years of the reboot in mind. Of course, all these characters eventually are going to be recast, but for the sake of this video, it's about if they're going to be recast soon after or immediately after the reboot. Our first category, same as the first recast ranking, is the smallest with only 4 characters. The first 2 are Kate Bishop and Kamala Khan, purely because they are very beloved by fans and the actresses are still very young and can stay around for a long time. Kamala Khan especially is one of the characters on this list that has probably a less than 0% chance of being recast. She's just so great in the role and makes anything she's in watchable. Next is John Walker. He's someone who I was considering putting into the next category, but I put him here because, at least in my opinion, he's one of the most well-written MCU characters. If he dies in Thunderbolts, or even if he lives, I don't see them recasting post-reboot because I'm not totally sure how much of a story he has to tell after that. But if he survives, I can see him being a very minor player here and there, and that'd be easy for Wyatt Russell to return. The last in this category is The Watcher. This is pretty much just a voice role. I do think we will get him in live action in Avengers Secret Wars, but even then, it's probably going to be a mostly CGI character like the Watchers in Guardians 2. So Jeffrey Wright can voice him forever, without a need for a recast. Next up, we have Unlikely, which is our largest category. Daredevil, Kingpin, and Punisher. Inarguably the 3 most beloved Marvel TV characters. Now, I know what some of you might be saying if you saw the last recast ranking video. Aren't they going to be too old 15 to 10 years down the line after the reboot to play these characters? Yeah, maybe. And I was originally going to put them in could go either way. Until a few days ago when rumors started circulating that they are pushing the Kingpin Daredevil storyline for Spider-Man 4 until after Secret Wars. I don't think they recast Daredevil and Kingpin until after they have the chance to be in a Spider-Man movie. And Punisher could show up right along with them in that movie. But even then, I could see them still keeping around Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Jon Bernthal as long as physically possible until they absolutely need to recast. Bullseye, Elektra, Foggy, and Karen are on here because Daredevil and Kingpin are. They'll be recast eventually, sure, but I don't see a world now where you recast them first, especially now that Marvel really knows just how much we love these actors in the roles. And who knows, maybe some of them will also show up in that inevitable Spider-Man Daredevil movie. Jessica Jones, I think, is very unlikely to be recast. Not impossible, sure, but very, very unlikely. She's a fan favorite, and Kristen Ritter can definitely still play her for another 10 to 15 years. And I'm sure they'll use her again. The only scenarios where I think she gets recast is if, 1, Kristen Ritter doesn't want to come back, or if she doesn't come back after Secret Wars until Daredevil and Kingpin and Punisher, etc. are recast. Also, Bloodstone and Werewolf by Night are on here because I think their stories post-Secret Wars are going one of 2 ways. 1, the MCU really does Midnight Suns, and they're in that movie, and probably only that movie. Or they just never use the characters again. Either way, I don't think a recast is likely. Isaiah Bradley is a character that quickly got my love in the MCU. The performance has just been top tier so far, and I'm very excited to see what he has in store in Captain America Brave New World. But post-Secret Wars, with the focus being on the X-Men and Fantastic Four, I'm not sure if he'll really show up. My 2 favorite TV characters of all time. Fitzsimmons. Along with May, Coulson, and the rest of the bus, I don't see them being recast, and unfortunately not because I think they'll be used. All of these characters are original characters to the MCU. Sure, they are now comic canon, but I just don't see it likely that any of these characters are used again. which on one hand sucks, because I love them dearly. But on the other hand, I wouldn't want any other actors to play them. Seeing as these characters originated with these actors, the actors are a lot of the reason why we love them so much. Mobius will surely appear again in either Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, or both, and I can't wait for him to return. But after that, will the TVA really be as involved in the MCU? I'm sure they'll have a presence, and with that presence, Mobius could make quick cameos here and there, but I don't see him having a huge role, which makes it easier for Owen Wilson to continue to cameo and play Mobius. Lastly in this category, Moon Knight and She-Hulk. No way we are done seeing these characters. I think there's a lot more story to tell with them, and these actors are great in the roles. I can totally see both of them playing their characters for another decade or so. In the could go either way category, first we have Billy Maximoff, who, yes, I know has already been recast after the picture I'm using, but there is no good image of him to use since Agatha hasn't released yet. But Agatha is actually why he's on this list. He's already been recast. I could honestly see a scenario where they do something similar to the kids in the National Lampoon Vacation franchise, where every appearance of Billy is a new actor. Likely? No. The real reason he's on this list is I think Scarlet Witch will be recast post-Secret Wars to align better with the X-Men. So if she's recast, I think both Billy and Tommy will be also. If she isn't, then I don't think Billy will be. Next is Daisy Johnson, aka Quake. Unlike her Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. counterparts, she has existed in Marvel Comics for a while before Chloe Bennett played her. While she is definitely a fan favorite to a lot of people because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the character didn't originate with her, so I can see them recasting. But on the other hand, since she did make the character a fan favorite for a lot of people, I can also see them not recasting when they do eventually bring her back. Maya Lopez is purely here because I don't know if they'll use her again. I think she's a cool character, her acting is great, and it's great to have representation like her, but her show was not all that well received. I honestly don't know where her story goes from here. If they bring the character back, I don't think they'll recast, but I don't know if they will bring the character back. Billy Russo was almost on the unlikely list. The only reason I put him on could go either way is I can see a world where theoretically, post-Secret Wars, they want to do another Punisher story, and they use Jigsaw again, but this time, they really mess up his face more and make him kind of crazier. But same with Maya, I really don't know if they bring him back. Lastly, our heroes for hire, Luke Cage and Iron Fist. I personally don't want them to be recast, and I know I'm not alone in that. But their shows were just not received in the same way Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Punisher were. In my opinion, the team-up episode of Luke Cage where Iron Fist shows up proves that these guys have real potential in the roles, and the characters of Luke Cage and Iron Fist will surely return, but I don't know if that one episode is really enough to convince the studio to bring the actors back. On to our last category. I'd be surprised if they weren't recast. First, Absorbing Man. While not the most important Marvel villain, he's one that I can totally see them using in the future. Where, why, or how? Not sure. But fans know him, he's got a cool power set, and he has all the potential for a first act or secondary villain. Cloak and Dagger are easy candidates for a recast. While they aren't as mainstream as other characters on this list, fans of the comics and some animated shows know them and how cool they are. I truly believe those characters are used within the first 10 years of the reboot, and a recast honestly just makes sense. Same with Nico Minoru and the rest of the Runaways for that matter. But I singled out Nico specifically because she's being used in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. With Runaways not being watched by a lot of people and now being removed from streaming services, Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man will be a lot of people's first introduction to the character, and considering her tie to the magical, supernatural side of the MCU, I can totally see her coming back to live action, just played by somebody else. Deathlock is a character that was rumored to be coming back a few years ago. Obviously, that didn't happen, but he's a character that can totally be used again. And I'd go as far as to say that he's the kind of character that's right up Marvel Studios' alley. But I don't see them using the same actor as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The Ghost Riders, Johnny Blaze, and Robbie Reyes. Johnny might appear before Secret Wars, who knows at this point. But in a world where he doesn't, it's a no-brainer that it'll be someone who hasn't played him before. And with Robbie, while Gabriel Luna is getting a lot more attention now thanks to The Last of Us, he's just outgrown the role at this point. When they eventually get to Robbie Reyes, it's gonna be somebody new. And finally, we have the Inhumans. I think they're all gonna get recast, but specifically the main three, Black Bolt, Medusa, and Maximus. Look, I love that they brought back Anson Mount to play Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness, and I genuinely think if the three of them were in a better show, they'd be great in the roles. But reintroducing the Inhumans post-Secret Wars makes so much sense to me, and with doing that, it just makes sense to not have any connection to the previous show. So that's my recast ranking for the Marvel television side of the MCU. Do you agree, disagree with my list? Let me know in the comments. And make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any of my future videos, including the next recast ranking next month when I cover the Marvel villains. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. And remember to be kind, be gentle, and be curious.